All right, free radicals of all shapes, sizes, colors, denominations, and orientations. Aloha from slightly cooler Southwest Florida. My name is Dave, and this is the Radical Independent. Tulsi Gabbard's workout routine. Here it is on Vice. Vice News has got this. The article is called I'm Full Tulsi. Inside the Tulsi Gabbard, or her wild bid to make trouble in 2020. What do you mean? It's like her wild bid to be the presidential nominee. Why don't you say that? Well, but she's just there to make trouble, Dave. That's what she's there for. Well, she's making good trouble. I like the trouble she's making. And I want to talk about this article. It's a very lengthy article from Vice News. Vice and News. I don't know if those things actually go together. Here's Tulsi's workout routines, getting a lot of press these days. How, again, she's more physically fit than any other presidential candidate running. And, that's the thing. I'm sorry. The president's health matters. And I'm going to talk about the Bernie stuff that's starting to happen. I spoke about it in the last video, but I do want to talk about it because I had a real weird confrontation over the weekend on Twitter with a Bernie person who was telling me that Bernie's foreign policy is better than Tulsi's foreign policy. And I just can't wrap my brain around that idea. What I'm sensing from the Berners right now is that they're getting a little concerned. Tulsi's hanging in too long. Tulsi, by the way, I think Tulsi has maxed out her progressive support. So she's courting independence, and this is why everybody's speculating, well, she's going to run for a third party and so forth. No, I don't think she's going to do it this election cycle. But she's certainly setting a stage, if she weren't the nominee this time around, that next time around, the whole country would be ready for her. And the Berners, though, are thinking, again, she's hanging out too long. We really thought she'd go away by now. We thought she would just, run a good campaign for a while and then endorse Bernie. But she's going all the way to the convention. And people, by the way, who admire principle over just, strategic politics and so forth, a lot of those people are going to stick with Tulsi Gabbard. Her message of aloha and peace, and as you can tell by the shirt here, I just got this shirt and I love it. Waging peace, that's Tulsi Gabbard, nobody else. And I explained this, I don't know what this person was talking about, but supposedly they're a real insider in the Bernie framework of things, and they were throwing large words at me and trying to be all erudite and intellectual and demeaning my character and so forth, which was, it's really indicative of a lot of what Bernie supporters do. And I'm sorry, nobody is better on foreign policy than Tulsi Gabbard. And people who come along and try to make that case to me, I'm just not going to give you a lot of attention. Okay? This is her entire campaign. So, in any event here, scrolling down, like this person says, I certainly like everything that Tulsi has to say. I still love Bernie. Courting conservatives. All right, so I wanted to do a whole video about this, because everybody on the left thinks everybody on the right are bigots and racists and homophobes, whatever, the thing that they think about conservatives, and that you can't dialogue with conservatives, okay? And that conservatives, you don't want them in your coalition. You don't want to bring any of them over to Tulsi or, for the Bernie fans. The Bernie fans are almost resistant to the idea that people who are deplorables might go and hang out with some Bernie supporters and wear a t-shirt that says, hey, I'm a former Trump deplorable, now a Bernie deplorable. In the case of Tulsi Gabbard, she actually addressed this in the last debate. She directly appealed to all of those voters who voted for Trump and their lives have pretty much stayed the same. Because there are a number of people that fall into that category. So, they mentioned that she went on Breitbart. Oh no, I had to say that on Twitter. Oh no, this is going to not endear her with the MSNBC/TYT crowd. She goes on with Tucker Carlson, and all hell broke loose when she started talking about 9/11. She got trolled for that. My video not only did my video got demonetized, it got permanently demonetized. By the way, I'm kind of rambling all over the place here, but I have to mention this. Somebody on Twitter sent me a video of somebody who just got banned off Twitter. Like, his page he wasn't given any notification, and he was just done. And I've been hearing this more and more. Articles are popping up, and you know how you are in life where you don't want to hear about this, and you're like, no, that can't happen to me. Folks, it can happen to any of us. So this is a scary thing, because this is kind of what I do. I've got this channel and my music channel, and revenue from these channels, quite honestly, varies from week to week. I have good weeks, I have bad weeks. I get paid once a month from this company, and I put my heart and soul into this, and I'm hoping that I will be spared, but I'm really at the whims of big tech, corporate America, and I don't understand. This was meant for, it's why it's called YouTube. If you go back to the name of the actual platform, it's for you, it's for me, Anyway, here's the thing about the Trump people that I've been talking about. He said he'd struggle to vote for Trump again because he has some problems with credibility, but Gabbard is the only Democrat he would support. I was totally enthralled with her. She's like a guiding light on a ship of fools. The way she talks about issues with common sense, practicality. Although the policies she advocates are fairly progressive, actually the most progressive when it comes to foreign policy, rhetorically, she can often sound more like a conservative than a Democrat, railing against Clinton's use of the term deplorables. Well, see, that's a goofy thing to say, that a conservative doesn't like the term deplorables. I don't think anybody wants to be called a deplorable. So I don't understand. It's dumb. It's just stupid. All right, when a Republican at a town hall in Laconia, New Hampshire, spoke up and accused Pelosi of being owned by the banks and Adam Schiff of being owned by defense contractors, Gabbard didn't dispute it. Because it's true. That's why she didn't dispute it. The questioner asked how she'd resist the temptation of big money. Having a backbone, she answered. Her answers, by the way, are just like home runs. Having a backbone. And, of course, they bring up Bannon, Spencer, and Duke. I'm not even going to... It's just the fact that this paragraph is in yet another article. This is the greatest answer, though, that she gives. I don't know if you've seen this. You're talking about a brown-skinned Polynesian Asian woman who's a practicing Hindu. Give me a break. This is all of the, the white nationalism stuff that they throw. It's just, and this is a great line. All they're doing really is giving more oxygen and attention to people who I believe should have none, Gabbard replied. These smear attempts are levied as a way to do two things. Try to undermine my candidacy and my campaign, and to distract away from the message I'm bringing. She totally gets this. She totally gets what's happening in this sort of media bubble inside the Democratic Party. And now inside independent media, where you now have neo-progressives who are like, hurry up, Tulsi, do your thing, but get out. Get out and just endorse Bernie. No, look, here's what I want to say about this. Tulsi Gabbard is a better candidate than Bernie Sanders. She's a better candidate. She's got a better chance at uniting the country. Her followers aren't rabid, insane people who are just want to burn the system down, and they go out and they post things about burning this down and burning that down. And at times it's literal, it's not figurative. And there's actual love within this campaign. There's service, there's sacrifice, and there's love. And on Veterans Day, which is today, that's something I think that's very much needed. That message may be best described as military non-interventionism. Gabbard enlisted in the Hawaiian Army National Guard a few years after 9/11. Now she says her service was based on lies. At times it can seem as if she is publicly reckoning with the personal trauma of buying into the failed military campaign. At least they say it's a failed military campaign. A lot of people can't. Like John Bolton, he'll never admit that it was failed. George W. Bush probably will never admit that. Dick Cheney, no way. That taps into the sympathies of others with similar regrets or just civilians still smarting from the Bush administration. So, Tulsi Gabbard is her own candidate. She's got her own lane. And here's the thing. Her lane is not going to appeal again to MSNBC and TYT. It's just not going to appeal to. So if you're looking for those guys to come around and say, you know what, Tulsi would be the best candidate to beat Trump because she is, and that's the truth. She's better than Elizabeth Warren. I think she's equal or better than Bernie Sanders on beating Donald Trump. I saw a simulation of the Electoral College if it were Tulsi against Trump, and Tulsi wins in a landslide. Any state that has any purple tendencies, Tulsi Gabbard. And any state that was kind of on the fence and just barely voted for Trump last time goes to Tulsi. It's right there in front of you if you want to do it, if you want to see it. The DNC does not want to do it or see it because they're obviously, all of the people who control the DNC are pretty much the same people who controlled it in 2016. And you have to look at the Clintons as still being involved. I think this whole thing now with Mayor Pete is coming from that sect within the DNC. They're looking at Warren as maybe someone who's not electable. Now they're starting to throw, their chips on Mayor Pete, and I think that is really dumb. Because again, I think Trump beats Mayor Pete handily. I think Mayor Pete is a blank slate with no agenda other than continuing, big bank policies and the military-industrial complex, which he is from. Mayor Pete is from that. And I know Tulsi is essentially too, but Pete was an operative, all right? Higher up operative and strategist and so forth. And he's not going to shy away from going into these regimes and trying to upset the apple cart wherever he can do it. And he's going to sit down with military generals and probably be in full agreement with all of their schemes. Tulsi Gabbard is, look, the bottom line with all this, and I posted this on Twitter, is I don't know. This is some truth coming at you here. I don't know if we can stop the military-industrial complex. I don't know if a president can stop it. My guess is Trump went in there thinking he could and then realized, oh no, I just have to kind of tinker around the edges and make it look like this is what I'm doing, even though it's not happening, even though the exact opposite in some cases are happening. I do a little drawdown over here, and yet we put the troops somewhere else. And if you look at all this stuff, what's happening is like a shell game. It doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't do anything substantive. It says, while Gabbard's contemporaries on the left, like Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, want to finance their ambitious social programs with taxes on the uber wealthy, Gabbard promises to take savings from ending so-called regime change. Look at that, so-called regime change wars, and reinvest them into the country. In other words, you cut back on the military and you're going to have a boatload of money coming back. Russian state TV, and I'm not even going to go here with this article. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it just goes on. It's a really long article. The last paragraph, I'm going to volunteer, and I've never been political in my life. I'm not full Democrat. I'm not full Republican. I'm not full Libertarian. I guess I'm full Tulsi. Whatever party that is. That's what's called a Tulsi-crat. A Tulsi-crat has true progressive enzymes. A Tulsi-crat has true libertarian enzymes when it comes to things like free speech, Julian Assange, all of those really important things that progressives used to stand for, anti-war. Anti-war, by the way, is very libertarian. It's also very Green Party. Okay? It seems like all the minor parties have come to the conclusion that endless war is not the way you sustain the earth and the economy. All right? It's very simple. So what this article does for me is it puts in perspective that Tulsi Gabbard has her own lane, and she's now really kind of sort of embracing that. The Breitbart, all the things that she's been doing as far as media, she's very serious about appealing just across the spectrum. Now, she's going to be accused of being a conservative, a centrist. That's the thing I'm hearing now. Oh, she's just a centrist. I don't think Medicare for all is a centrist policy. I don't think ending regime change wars is centrist. I don't think cleaning up the atmosphere and doing off fossil fuels, I don't think that's centrist. All right. Now you can think what you want, but Tulsi is so unique and independent that it's hard to put her in a group. It's hard to categorize her. Her campaign, though, quite honestly, is doing very well. And she has run a great campaign no matter what you say, because most people just predicted she'd be a little flash in the pan. She'd have her 15 minutes. It would be up. Guess what? Her 15 minutes is going to continue right to the convention. And here's some advice for Bernie Sanders fans, all right? Leave me alone. Leave us alone. Let us go through this process. Don't tear down our candidate and say ridiculous things about her foreign policy or any vote that she's made, because we can go down the list of Bernie Sanders votes and find a lot of things that are very suspicious when it comes to supporting war and intervention and military budgets and so forth. All right? And I know people will say, well, Tulsi voted for this and she shouldn't have voted for it based on what she's saying now and so forth. You can see a total evolution on many different topics with Tulsi Gabbard. Everyone says Bernie is consistent. Bernie's been the same as he's been since he was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not good to be that consistent. Maybe you should look at issues and change your mind on things once you see them. Because Tulsi Gabbard went to war. She's a combat veteran as well as all these other things that she said here. She did a little identity politics here because the only reason she did it like she did it the other day is to say, hey, do you understand what you're saying about me? Do you understand what I represent, like my skin color, my religion, my background? I mean, she's a multiple threat for intersectionality, which I hate, but she could tout it all day long. She could be like Kamala Harris and make these statements, and people would go on the neoconservative or the neoliberals or the neoprogressives, they would go, oh, she's really speaking our language now. Now this is the Tulsi we want, because she's not putting service before self, because that's what they want. They want you to put yourself before service and boast of all of these credentials which aren't going to help mom and pop try to start a small business in Nebraska. It's just, this is the crap that all of these people are missing. And as we hurtle closer to the primaries, and we're getting deep into the year, folks, it's November, and Tulsi's in the November debate, and if we can get some more unique donors, she's going to be in the December debate. And I'll tell you what, if she gets to December, I mean, really all bets are off, because she's going to have a ton of exposure. I get that the holiday season, people are distracted and so forth, but it's still a huge boon to her campaign. And quite honestly, I don't see her stopping. I see that she has a chance to place very high in both New Hampshire and Iowa if things continue the way they are. And I know you Bernie people are going to get nervous. Bernie's got to win his own campaign. What Bernie has to do is stop Warren and also talk and take out some of these neoliberals who the media continues to prop up, like Mayor Pete. Because if he does that, then he'll have a clear lane. And imagine having a Bernie Tulsi or Tulsi Bernie election day victory or primary day victory in Iowa and or New Hampshire, like they were 1 and 2. And I'm not going to tell you what order I prefer that in, but you know I prefer Tulsi as number 1. It's still possible, folks. It really is. So there you have it. Tulsi Gabbard campaign is doing very, very well, and her lane is definitely not Bernie's lane. So Berners, you just, like I said, just leave us alone. Let us enjoy our candidate. Let us promote our candidate. Tearing down our candidate based on the fact that you're either jealous or worried is certainly not going to make things go well for Bernie at the end of all this. If Bernie needs us at the end, some of us are going to be like, really? Because that's not aloha. That's not really reducing the military-industrial complex. Those aren't the things that Tulsi Gabbard is most concerned about. Just, we'll see how it plays out. But again, I don't know if it's good strategy to just go after Tulsi supporters. And that's it. That's my video. Thanks for watching, folks. Again, if you can help me out via Patreon, there's a link. Go to the link. It'll take you to Patreon. You can do $1 a month, whatever you can afford. If you can't afford that, I get it. I had some very generous donations at the end of last week. I took the weekend off to spend time with my family, but I had some very generous donations, and I'm pretty sure I sent out thank yous for those. And those donations came in via PayPal, one-time donations, and a lot of people like to do those, so I will put the email address to my PayPal account in the description of this video. Again, aloha. See you soon.